I think you're being a complete dick, if I'm honest with you.
Exposing your hypocrisy and how you lied to me about what you wanted to discuss.
What was the reason?
I don't know.
You sound very bitter, Don.
Piers, are you kidding me?
You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks.
You know those interviews that start with good intentions and end in total chaos? Yeah, this was one of them. Piers Morgan sits down with Don Lemon, former CNN anchor, now independent podcaster, supposedly to talk cancel culture, and the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. What actually happened? Well, it turned into something else entirely. Let's walk through what went down, not as a train wreck, not as a meltdown, not as a meltdown, but as a real, raw, revealing conversation between two journalists. He used to sit all in the same newsroom, now can barely sit.
Well, Charlie Kirk used new media to devastating effect in his mission to mobilise young people for his conservative movement. He understood the power of a viral moment to cut through a complex argument and the great appetite for proper debate. Just two of many things we all love about our digital culture. There's plenty of things many of us find repellent about it too. Witch hunts, vile smears we'd not dream of using in real life, and the business of saying things purely to generate attention through rage. Many prominent figures on the right have accused Don Lemon of doing exactly that this week, ironically, for making the very same claim about them.
The thing that is so obvious about it, and I think is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks.
Piers opens by playing a clip of Don Lemon calling out right-wing figures, accusing them of faking grief over Charlie Kirk's death just to chase clicks and rage bait. Strong words? Fair point. Maybe. But here's the thing. Don sets a standard. Using tragedy for personal gain, that's bad. Keep that in mind, because later he's going to be accused of doing the exact same thing.
So obvious about it, and I think this is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks, to boost your podcast or your streaming show or your radio show or your television show or your news show or your MAGA bona fides with the MAGA group or your political stripes, that you can improve it, or you can have a moment where you're crying in front of the cameras. You gather all the reporters at the Capitol and you go, and it's your fault, and it's your fault, and it's the left and whatever.
Well, Don Lemon is, of course, a former CNN anchor like me, who now hosts the Don Lemon Show, clips of which appear frequently in many popular podcasts. And he joins me now. Don, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Good to see you, Piers.
We were both
introduction, but it's great to see you.
We were both greatly lamented ex-CNN anchors. In fact, we shared an office. You took my old office. So I feel like we've got a lot in history together. Your reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder has stirred up a lot of anger on people on the right, particularly the clip we just heard where you talk about them not really caring about what happened to him and just reacting for clicks, crying for clicks and so on. I've interviewed quite a few people who are on the conservative right who knew Charlie Kirk well. I've not detected any of that myself. I do think that they were genuinely, utterly horrified by what happened. Do you not think that what you said there was insensitive?
No, I don't. I'm surprised because I was actually taking up for Charlie Kirk. I was taking up for him as someone who died a horrible, untimely death, and that there are people who are out here trying to capitalize off of his death. I don't think it's that much different than what his friend, who is his confirmed friend, Candace Owens, is saying about folks who are using it for political and for career expediency. There are those who are doing it, and there are those who are not. And if you are not, then I don't think anyone who's not doing it took any offense to it. There's an old saying here in America: a hit dog will holler. So the folks who I felt a certain kind of way and that I touched with that statement or those statements, then perhaps they should take a look at themselves. And by the way, as you know, Piers, you've been a victim of this. Many of us have been a victim to this. You take a clip, you do a short clip that is out of context, and then you make it into something that you want it to be rather than what I said. I don't see many people on the right at all of me running clips of me saying, I think You know, it was horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk. It should never have happened. I feel terrible for his wife and his kids. The kids are fatherless. She does not have a husband right now. I don't believe in political violence at all, whether it comes from the right or the left. No one played those clips. What they did was take someone like me that they can demonize. They feel that I'm on the left. As you know, Piers, we work together. I'm not on the left. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not on the right either. I have my own mind, and I make up my mind, and I decide on issues based on what I believe in and based on facts, not a certain political ideology.
Well, look, I would say that you're clearly a lot more left than right, surely. I mean, I've never heard you espouse a conservative sentiment.
I am a lot more fact-based than I am anything. And so I don't believe you are free to think that I'm on the left. And perhaps in this time that we're in now with the Trump administration and with MAGA, perhaps facts are on the left. And if you deem that being on the left, then so be it. I don't see myself as being a political figure or a figure who's on the left.
It's interesting. It's interesting your characterization about facts, because, I would argue that one of the reasons Trump got re-elected against all the odds, if you think about what happened after January 6th and everything else, the fact that he got re-elected, I always felt was three-pronged, right? One was immigration. I think Biden completely dropped the ball with immigration, particularly on the southern border. Second, the economy. And thirdly, the whole woke issue, the whole woke culture. And in particular, I would say, the issue, for example, of trans athletes in women's sport, which is, to me, if you're talking about facts, it is something that most Americans looked at and went, you know what, this is ridiculous. How can you deny biological reality? How can you go against scientific fact?
Look, Piers, I'm not here to argue over trans rights. I don't think it necessarily cut to the argument of common sense. I think they simply found an issue that they could capitalize on based on fear or some perceived religious value or what have you. So I'm not going to sit here and demonize trans people, trans women, or trans men, because I just don't think that is fair and that is productive in this moment. I'm not going to go back and litigate why Donald Trump won and on the issue of trans. We simply disagree on that. I think it affects so few people. I think it was something that was blown out of proportion. And while there may be some people who are affected by it, and if they are, I'm sorry that happens. But happens. But I just don't think that was an issue that focuses.
So when
on
you see, for
sense,
example, in the Paris Olympics, when you saw Imam Khalif, an Algerian boxer who had been banned from the World Championships for testing positive for male chromosomes, when you saw a young female Italian boxer quit after 40 seconds because she'd never been hit that hard and genuinely feared for her life, and Imam Khalif goes on to win gold medal at the Olympics, does that not ring an alarm bell for you, Don? I mean, do you not think that the reason we separate sexes in the Olympics is because males have an advantage? I mean, why would you not think that's important?
Do you want me to tell you the truth? Let me tell you, Piers, I'll tell you the truth about this. I heard about this story, but it's not something that I focus on. I'm not watching the Olympics like that. Maybe I'm different. I'm just not. I'm not that interested in watching everything. I like to watch the swimming. I like to watch the gymnasts. I'm not interested in boxing or any of that because I think it's a brutal sport anyway. So for me, it's just not that interesting. I'm sorry that anybody was hit that hard, but if you put yourself in the arena to be hit and someone hits you hard, then whose fault is that?
Well, you expect to be hit by other women, not men.
Then Piers pivots to the Olympics. Specifically, Imam Khalif, the Algerian boxer who faced controversy over testosterone levels and beat a female opponent who quit after 40 seconds, saying, "I feared for my safety." Piers' question is simple. Should biological men dare to compete in women's sports? Don's answer, I don't watch boxing. Wait, what? It's not about boxing. It's about fairness, safety, fuel, science. And Don, a guy who built his career out asking hard questions, doesn't want to answer one. You can hear the discomfort he's dodging the nut, not because he doesn't have an opinion, but because he's afraid of the backlash, no matter which way he answers.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know who she expected to be hit by.
We call it violence.
I'm sure she saw. I'm sure whoever was in that competition understood who they were going into the ring with. And if you put yourself in that competition in the middle of a ring where punches are being thrown, then you can expect to get hit hard, whether it is a man or a woman. And that's all I have to say about that.
So you would have no objection to men fighting women in a boxing ring?
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" I mean, if you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out. When I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear,
so,
you and
yes.
I haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you.
Yeah.
I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right,
and
you're
I
not
said
on
the
a
same
panel.
thing to your bookers.
There's only one
and
of
so
you,
when
Don.
I asked you, and right, okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover?
Yeah.
Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed. But let me answer your question since
Hang on
we're
one
here.
second. Oh, Don,
Okay?
Don, hang on one second. Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't want to talk about it, fine. No, but hang on, no, so sorry. You said what you're going to say. By the way, we don't.
Disingenuous.
Don, we don't edit.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. Piers, I think that's completely disingenuous. And I think anyone watching this
What are you
will know
talking
that.
about?
And so if you will let me, if you will allow me, please
What
please
are you
stop
talking
interrupting
about?
me, okay? Did you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me
I think you're
answer the
being a
question?
complete dick, if I'm honest with you.
Then, boom, Piers brings up the clip that got Don fired from CNN, wanting to call Nikki Haley not in her prime. Don's reaction, instant, meltdown. It's an ambush, except it's not. He's a public figure. At that moment, as somebody finds his exit from CNN, of course, Piers are going to ask about it. But Don doesn't want to talk about it. Instead, abuses Piers of lying about the topics. Claims his team misled him, refuses to answer. Nah. That's when Piers snaps, you're being a complete dick. And honestly, you kind of get it. Don's lecturing Piers on journalistic ethics that they fall refusing to do. The most basic part of journalism, answer a direct question.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or
I don't like the
respectful.
ad hominem attacks. I could respond in kind.
You can
but
say
I
what you
won't
like about
because
me. I don't
think
care.
that I think that I'm above that. I'm not going to do that, Piers. That's not who I am.
I don't understand why you're playing the victim card when you yourself mentioned cancel culture.
Because Piers. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me do this.
What are you going to do? Read out my team's messages to you?
Piers, it should be embarrassing. Yeah, I can read out the team messages to you because I just think it's completely unfair, and you know that. I'm prepared to answer your question, and then I'm going to move on. I told you I'm prepared to talk about Charlie Kirk's death, the response to it, and cancel culture, and freedom of the press.
So
and freedom of speech.
You were prepared to talk about cancel culture, or you weren't?
No, I'm not prepared.
Oh, you're not prepared to talk about
cancel culture. But that has. Oh my God, Piers, could you stop interrupting me?
Not really. You're kind of exhausting me. It's ridiculous. Why would you react this way to a perfectly normal? Obviously, if you mention cancel culture, obviously it's rational and logical that I would ask you whether you felt what happened to you at CNN was that. I play the clip and then you throw a hissy fit.
I've given you a moment. Enough. I've given you your moment.
I don't want a moment.
This is going to go viral. So please,
I don't want
enough.
a moment,
Yes, you
Don.
do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Otherwise, you would be a respectful journalist and host, and you would let me talk.
I don't think I'll take lectures on being a respectful journalist
because you want a
Don.
moment. Oh my gosh, Piers.
I won't.
I can't even hear because there's a delay and you keep talking And what do you want me to do? Like rip the earpiece out in the mic and run off so you have a
No,
moment?
I don't care.
Are you
You
going
do
to let me
whatever you
answer the
like.
question? Are you just going to keep pillaring me with questions?
I don't know why you've gone on this
and cutting me
weird
off
rant.
before
I don't
answer?
understand any of it. Why have you done this weird reaction? I simply asked you about whether you felt your departure from CNN was, in your eyes, an example of cancel culture. I played the clip.
Piers,
and
you're
I then
embarrassing
said,
yourself,
I then
and
said,
I tried
when you
to-
watch it back, do you
Piers,
really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
Actually, you might be embarrassing
and
yourself,
you are-
Don.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, you might be. Have you thought of that?
Okay.
You're a journalist. You don't want to talk about a story, a massive story that involved you?
That is not the reason that I was let go from CNN. And so, again, unless you know something, then, go ahead
Well,
and
as,
tell
as
me,
you
but
know, it
that's
was
not-
widely reported that was. So
that's not what I know.
So what was the reason?
Don't believe everything you read.
What was the reason?
I don't know.
This is the moment that changes everything. After all the yelling, the accusations, the interruptions, Piers asks, if it wasn't the Nikki Haley comment, what was it? Why did CNN let you go? And Don says, I don't know, really? Either he's lying, I'm bound by an NDA, which makes his whole ambush rant look ridiculous, or he's telling the truth, which is somehow worse. A guy who spent years holding others accountable has no idea why his own career imploded. That's not just awkward, it's revealing.
You don't know.
No.
But it all happened after that incident. You know that.
Yeah. Well, Piers, everything happens after something. I don't understand what your point is.
Well, my point is, I think it's quite newsworthy. If you say it had nothing to do with that, then it'll raise the obvious question.
I don't think it's newsworthy, Piers. That was 3 years ago.
Right.
That's three. It's not newsworthy. News means something that's new. This isn't new.
Right.
That was 3 years ago. That's
Okay,
been
but it's
all
the first-
litigated.
it's
If
the
you want
first
to find
time
out
up-
about it, you are free to be able to read the interviews that I read. You're free to read the statement that perhaps your folks should pull up the statement when I left CNN, and that can explain to you what happened. So this is nothing new.
You
It's
just
all
told me
water
you've
under
no
the bridge.
idea why you
I
were
have
let
moved
go.
on. I'm doing something completely different, and so that's that.
Right, but you just said you've no idea why they got rid of you.
I did.
So how do you know it wasn't to do with the clip we just played?
I just said that. I just answered your question. Now, what else do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about, Don?
The subjects that you invited me on to discuss, Piers.
I thought that included free speech and everything around that.
I know you're loving this viral moment. I just think that you're embarrassing
I don't
yourself
think
in
you
this
understand
moment,
what me
go
at
on.
all. I've got nothing against you at all.
I have not been on anyone else's show. I don't want to be on anybody's show. I don't want to do panel shows. I don't want to argue with people about things that are inconsequential. What we should be talking about right now is how to keep what happened to Charlie Kirk from happening to anybody else. That's where the conversation should be. But instead, you're trying to get a moment. You're trying to make some news out of something. But go ahead. Have your fun. But we should be discussing something that is productive to the American people instead of you going into the garbage and trying to find something that will, give you a moment, or that you will, get a click out of it, or more viewers for your program.
You sound very bitter, Don.
Piers, are you kidding me?
No.
Bitter. I'm the happiest go lucky person ever. I'm just exposing your hypocrisy and how you lied to me about what you wanted to discuss.
Final moment. Don accuses Piers of engineering a viral moment. Piers fires back. You sound very bitter, Don. In Don's response, a forced laugh. Then, right back into complaining. No denial, no deflection, just vibes. He's mad, he's frustrated, he misses the spotlight, and he's projecting, accusing Piers of doing exactly what he's doing, turning an interview into a spectacle. Remember clip 1? Don called out people for using tragedy for clicks. Now, he's creating his own viral moment by yelling, interrupting, and storming off emotionally.
I've never talked to you about this interview at all.
You don't have conversations with your producers? So your producers lied to me, or you're not that involved in...
You've omitted one of the subjects we wanted to talk to you about.
You're not that involved in the editorial process of your own show, where they don't convey to you
by your own admission
what you are...
You know what, Don?
That the guest
what
the guest is going to talk about on the program?
You obviously expected
Are you not that involved in the editorial process of your own show that you don't know that, Piers?
You've already admitted that one of the subjects was free speech, and yet here you are getting enraged about me exercising my right to free speech to ask you a few questions.
Piers, I'm not enraged. I'm not enraged at all. I think this is kind of funny. I'm not enraged at all. I mean, it's kind of exactly what I thought, like, hey, I don't want to go on the Piers Morgan show because of the spectacle of it all. And so that's confirmation of that. But I'm glad you got this moment. This is a moment for me as well that's going to play out on social media. It's going to be good for me too. So go for it.
What moment do you think we've got?
Piers, come on.
Come on, I don't know what you mean.
Look, this wasn't a masterclass in self-destruction. It was a human moment. Two guys with history, with baggage, and very different ideas about what journalism should be. Was Piers aggressive? Yeah. Was Don defensive? Absolutely. But here's what's interesting. Don spent the whole interview accusing others of being performative while performing the entire time. He talked about facts, but dodged the biggest factual question of his career. He preached about integrity, then refused to answer a direct question. And in the end, he proved Piers' point without even realizing it. What do you think? Was this a fair interview, or did Piers cross a line? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it.